this is it. It looks like Freddie has just about got this position sealed, which means that he will win the World Championship by 1 point. It has been a long season. Obviously, 3 seasons he's been in Formula 1. Started off with Force India at the very bottom, struggling to score any points. Moved to Ferrari, started scoring podiums, and obviously his first race win in Monza in Season 1. It has been an up and down season. He has used those setbacks as forms of motivation heading into every single race weekend. He's kept his head held high as we are rounding the final corner for the final time in Season 3, and Freddie Gray is the world champion.
An even tougher year is upon us. The most competitive grid in years is set to put Freddie Gray to the absolute test. It's going to be no easy task, but retaining the World Championship is the #1 goal for 2017. A new challenge is presented at a brand new team for Freddie Gray. Let's get this show started. After a successful spell at Ferrari, Freddie Gray announced his intentions to leave the team and take on new pastures. 3 worthy offers were put on the table, but in the end, Williams were the chosen one as they entered the new season with the reigning champion and one of the most promising young drivers in the form of Canadian Lance Stroll in their repainted livery. A disappointing season for Nico Rosberg led to the German calling it a day and announcing his retirement from the sport with immediate effect. Replacing him would be Finn Valtteri Bottas, and no doubt he would be one of Freddie Gray's great rivals this season along with Lewis Hamilton. Red Bull Racing were anticipating a strong year with an unchanged lineup. With Ferrari having big shoes to fill, they captured the signing of Romain Grosjean from the newly formed Haas F1 team to partner with veteran Sebastian Vettel. Replacing Grosjean at Haas was the highly rated Italian Antonio Giovinazzi, a Ferrari young driver with a lot of potential to fill. Kevin Magnussen jumped ship from Renault after feeling more value with the offer he received from Haas. An improved year was a given for Renault, who are setting the bar high for 2017, with Nico Hülkenberg coming in as a spearhead to drive the team forward. It showed real intention from the French outfit. Julian Palmer lines up as the second driver. After losing a crucial asset to the team, Force India went out and replaced Hülkenberg with Mercedes young driver Esteban Ocon, who was seen as the best option in terms of building an inter-team relationship and also driving ability after competing in a number of tests for the Silverstone-based team. Sergio Perez begins his 4th consecutive season with Force India. With their future in the sport looking ominous, Mercedes bought out the struggling minnows at Manor and named Jordan King and Pierre Gasly as the 2 drivers, causing all sorts of conflict amongst rival team Red Bull. However, an agreement was later settled. Similarly, Alfa Romeo saw opportunities in the sport and took over Sauber F1 team, keeping on a large proportion of staff, including Swedish driver Marcus Ericsson. Talented young driver Pascal Wehrlein was named as his teammate after missing out on the vacant Mercedes seat. An all-new orange livery was presented by McLaren Honda at the first pre-season test in Catalonia as they unleashed Stoffel Van Dorn on the track for the first time, lining up alongside the experienced ever-present Fernando Alonso. Toro Rosso also brightened things up and kept faith in the current driver pairing of Carlos Sainz Jr. and Daniel Kvyat. With the Australian Grand Prix just weeks away, the pecking order was still unclear, but early signs suggest that Freddie Gray has an uphill task if he wants to retain his World Championship status. So guys, it begins here for episode #1 of Freddie Gray Season 4 for the Australian Grand Prix. The 2017 season, he begins a brand new adventure at the Williams F1 team. He has been preparing hard for this season. It's obviously going to be a tough one with Williams not having the advantage or the pace over the likes of Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes to begin with, but the aim, as it always has been, is to defend that World Championship title. And he's confident he can do so with some development throughout the season. Been a tough winter and a tough pre-season for Freddie, but now it is time. No more chilling for Freddie. The hard work starts here now, and it's time to get the plane for the first flyaway event of the season. It truly starts here, the title defense season at Melbourne, Australia. Albert Park was the location for the first qualifying session of the season, as each driver was relishing the opportunity to impress. A man on the charge was Max Verstappen, who secured pole in the closing stages, putting out a real sign of intent to his fellow rivals. Valtteri Bottas languished ahead of Lewis Hamilton on his debut for Mercedes, lining up on the front row ahead of Daniel Ricciardo at his home race. Sebastian Vettel pipped teammate Romain Grosjean to 5th in the Frenchman's first race weekend for Ferrari. Freddie Gray was nearly a second shy of Verstappen's pole time, but 6 tenths ahead of rookie teammate Lance Stroll. Fernando Alonso and Sergio Perez rounded out the top 10, with debutants Van Dorn and Giovinazzi putting in impressive displays, the latter out-qualifying his more established teammate Kevin Magnussen by 2 tenths of a second. Pierre Gasly was perhaps unfortunate to miss out on a seat at Toro Rosso, but he blasted his way into P17 in a much improved Manor-Mercedes, with fellow rookie teammate Jordan King lining up a further 3 positions back. Alfa Romeo and Renault had difficult sessions, with all drivers struggling to find their feet with their new resources. Pascal Wehrlein ended up as the highest qualifier, with Julian Palmer languishing last on the grid. So Verstappen was on pole by 3 tenths ahead of Bottas, who showed Lewis Hamilton he was no pushover, while home favourite Daniel Ricciardo lined up 3rd. The 2 Ferraris shared row 3 with distinctly similar times, while Freddie Gray maximised the Williams' pace to secure 7th. Lance Stroll was hoping for his first ever Formula 1 points, with Fernando Alonso and Sergio Perez rounding out the top 10. Rookies Van Dorn and Giovinazzi showed they weren't out of place, with the new boy at Force India, Esteban Ocon, sealing 13th. With the most competitive grid in years, it was set to be a hell of a fight out there. It's time for Freddie to start his title defence, as we head to Albert Park for the start of the Australian Grand Prix. So Freddie kicks things off in 7th position for the Australian Grand Prix. Obviously a brand new challenge this season at the Williams F1 team, and qualifying does really highlight the fact that Williams and obviously Freddie himself just have a lot of work to do this season.
All the best today, mate. Let's set the tone for the rest of the season.
Obviously every driver wants to set the bar high for this first race in Melbourne, but Freddie in particular, as the reigning champion, really wants to show some true intention in this first race, showing his worth and also Williams' worth as well. Obviously we're going to have to wait and see how it all goes today. It's going to be a real tough ask, especially in the Williams car. We're going to have to do a lot to try and transform this car into World Championship materials. The lights are now building up and it is underway for Freddie's first race at Williams. His ex-teammate Sebastian Vettel getting off to a very poor start, and his replacement Romain Grosjean already storming past. We head into turn 1 now. We see Fernando Alonso on the outside of Freddie there into turn 1, but I think Freddie has just about got that. Vettel and Grosjean going at it. Vettel once again almost being held back by his teammate. Now Freddie diving up the inside of Romain Grosjean into turn number 3, and 3 abreast in front of us with Lewis Hamilton, Bottas, and also the home favourite Daniel Ricciardo. Freddie side by side here with Ricciardo heading now through turn number 5, and he's got that position into P4, so it's been an incredible start so far, gaining 3 positions on the Ferraris and the Red Bull of Daniel Ricciardo. So now ahead of us we have Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas. Obviously Freddie's aim now is to catch up to them, and Max Verstappen once again in the lead to an absolutely blistering qualifying lap. He's already pulling away here in the early stages of the Australian Grand Prix. We can see Hamilton ahead, actually going to the outside of Valtteri Bottas. Hamilton having absolutely none of it. Bottas really putting one over on Hamilton in qualifying yesterday, but Hamilton squeezes Bottas out. Freddie takes a position off the pair of the Mercedes there, and he's now up in 2nd place as Daniel Ricciardo clips one of the Mercs and he's into a spin, and the safety car is out, and Ricciardo, the Australian at his home race, is out. Unbelievable scenes here on the first lap. We're going to have a look at plenty of replays, guys, in a second, but Freddie up into 2nd place and then actually loses it because he slowed down a bit too much for the Delta, and Hamilton just decided to go straight through him. So that's a bit of a strange one there. He's down into 3rd now, but still a brilliant overtake from him nonetheless. The Mercedes were getting a bit too fierce for their liking, and Ricciardo went straight across and actually smacked into a Ferrari. I believe that was Sebastian Vettel. We're going to have to check to make sure in a second. Let's see what Ricciardo tried to do. He tried to actually go for a gap that didn't really exist. It was always closing from Valtteri Bottas, but what a smack that was from Sebastian Vettel. Unbelievable how he is still in this race as well. His debris, his front wing, as you can see here. Look at the debris flying across the track and over the 2 Mercedes. Found that quite funny anyway. But yeah, quite a huge crasher for Daniel Ricciardo, and somehow Sebastian Vettel also survives that one and remains in the Australian Grand Prix, but obviously he is going to have to make a pit stop. But I don't think that was really anybody's fault there. If anything, it was Daniel Ricciardo's fault, going
going for a gap which was always closing and didn't really exist, to be honest with you. So more opening lap drama here at Melbourne as we are now resuming the racing. The safety car is in after 3 long laps, and Max Verstappen leads the way with Lewis Hamilton in second and Freddie Gray in third. As now Daniel Kvyat in the Toro Rosso is out of the race as well. But I think despite the fact that Lewis Hamilton did overtake Freddie just before, or just as the safety car came out, it has still been a pretty incredible start from Freddie in his first race for Williams. He's just going to have to try and keep it together. Obviously it will be tough to keep up with the guys in front. You can see already Hamilton and Verstappen already pulling away from Freddie, so it's going to be a real tough ask here. Freddie's going to have to show some real fight, real commitment to try and catch up to those guys. And Kvyat, an engine blows already. That's the Ferrari engine there that the Toro Rosso is running in this season. So already one bites the dust for Kvyat and Toro Rosso. So we are back spectating Freddie once again, and there's real threat being posed behind by Valtteri Bottas, who's wanting to really up the momentum and try and catch up with his teammate Lewis Hamilton once again. Can Freddie hold it around the outside of turn number 10 here? Yes, he does. He may go a bit wide though as he shifts down a further gear, actually into gear 4, so it didn't actually affect him too much, but he still has Bottas and Grosjean behind him who could try and make a move into this next corner, but I think Freddie has just about held it, and Grosjean now also pressurising Valtteri Bottas. If Freddie can let these guys battle out behind him, that should hopefully limit any threat towards him in the latter stages of this first stint. It is appearing to be quite a struggle at the moment, as it seems to be for his teammate Lance Stroll. Antonio Giovinazzi in the Haas F1 car on his F1 debut, making an incredible move around the outside of turn number 10 into turn number 11. Lance Stroll drops a further position as Giovinazzi promotes himself up. You can also see another debutant, Stoffel Van Dorn, and also Jordan King as well, battling it out in the Manor-Mercedes car as well. Incredible stuff here, but Jordan King taps Stoffel Van Dorn and is now fighting Esteban Ocon for position, who looks like he's doing an alternate strategy on the soft tyres. Also behind Kevin Magnussen, diving it up the inside of Carlos Sainz. Plenty of battling going on, everyone really wanting, to put their name out there, making a good first impression in their first races of the 2017 season. Hulkenberg, as you could see in the last shot, actually making his way into the pit lane. It seems as if he went onto the grass and actually hit Pierre Gasly there in the Manor-Mercedes and lost his front wing. Not quite sure how that happened, to be honest with you. And also we're just looking here at Kevin Magnussen making a move on Carlos Sainz. It seems as if Sainz and Lance Stroll are really struggling, dropping back quite a few positions. And Hulkenberg, I think, just got a bit too hot, really. Just went onto the grass, desperate to make a move around Pierre Gasly and the ever-slowing Carlos Sainz. But it didn't work out. It backfired for him, and now he's at the back of the field behind Sebastian Vettel. Once again, Freddie runs out a little bit wide on the exit of turn 11. Is now under pressure from Valtteri Bottas and Romain Grosjean. They're going 3 abreast now into turn number 12. Bottas gets forced out wide and Grosjean takes full opportunity, and I bet the Ferrari team are absolutely buzzing there that Freddie did that from Grosjean. Promotes himself ahead of the Mercedes car of Valtteri Bottas. Grosjean now up into P4 and Freddie into P3. Does also look like as if Lewis Hamilton is coming in for an early pit stop here. He's obviously doing a 3-stop strategy, or maybe a 2-stop strategy. We'll have to see what tyres he fits on in the next stint.
Right, box, press pit confirm.
I think what's scheduled is for Freddie to do a 2-stop in this Australian Grand Prix, to pit now onto these soft tyres, then go to about lap 18 and fit on another set of soft tyres as well. But look at all the traffic behind him as well as he now pulls into his pit box. It looks as if Grosjean and Bottas might jump him here, which they both have done, but thankfully gets out ahead of Kevin Magnussen in the Haas F1 car. But disappointing there, Williams couldn't quite get him out in front. Just the positioning of the garages in the pit lane here at Melbourne just couldn't get, enable him to stay ahead of Valtteri Bottas and Romain Grosjean. But now it's time for Freddie to put it up in rich mix and really, push on now. Try and get the job done. Try and really close in on Bottas and Grosjean before it's too late. Because obviously Bottas and Grosjean, they really did have the pace advantage in the first stint. But now hopefully it should be more of a level playing field. But at the moment it's looking unlikely. Bottas on the super soft tyres is simply just going to pull away from Freddie. But obviously so far the Australian Grand Prix has brought up some drama so far. So don't count any of that out towards the end of this race. But coming out the pits ahead of Freddie is Antonio Giovinazzi, theoretically in top position. That's an effective position there for Giovinazzi. He is rejoined ahead of Freddie, so that really does show how much the pit stop delay really affects him, because now the Haas F1 driver, the highly rated Italian here, is ahead of Freddie, unbelievably. So that's really put a spanner in the works for the Williams F1 team, and obviously Freddie himself. But hopefully he can quickly clear Giovinazzi. It is important, otherwise Bottas and Grosjean, as mentioned before, will just further increase their lead. It's absolutely crucial that we get past Giovinazzi right now. Hopefully
Freddie can pull off a move into this next corner, into turn number 8. Now Giovinazzi locking up, he's under pressure, and Freddie makes the move stick up the inside of 12. A tidy move in the end, but Giovinazzi outbreaking himself, perhaps just under pressure a little bit too much. Looking at a replay here, bouncing over the curb, Freddie makes the move stick, and now it's time to catch up with Valtteri Bottas and Romain Grosjean once again. Thankfully, being helped out by a bit of traffic. I believe it's Jolyon Palmer and Carlos Sainz holding up Bottas and Grosjean. Almost a lifeline here for Freddie Gray at the moment, because outright Bottas and Grosjean have the pace, as I've mentioned so many times before. Freddie just doesn't have the car right just yet to really be properly challenging these guys in the Grand Prix. As you can see, on the previous lap, Jolyon Palmer diving into the pit lane, and it looks as if Bottas and Grosjean have dispatched of the Toro Rosso of Carlos Sainz, really upping the importance here for Freddie.
Okay, mate, it's crucial that we overtake Sainz within the next lap. Let's get the job done.
So really emphasising what the engineer just said, it is absolutely crucial that Freddie gets past Carlos Sainz within the lap, or it could even be within the next couple of corners. Freddie diving up the inside of the Toro Rosso here of Carlos Sainz, just about staying within the track limits. That's a very questionable move there, but no message coming up, no warning from the steward, so Freddie will just carry on with his race here and further pulling away from Carlos Sainz. More drivers into the pit lane, Esteban Ocon and Stoffel Vandoorne. Interesting they pitted so late on. That could perhaps indicate that they're doing a one-stop, so that might not be the last we see of Vandoorne and Ocon in their debut races for McLaren and Force India respectively. But yeah, at the moment, Freddie is doing quite well. He's in rich mix. He's currently really holding the gap to Valtteri Bottas. And now Lewis Hamilton is in the pit lane for his second, or maybe even second out of 3 stops possibly. We're going to have to wait and see what tyres he fits on. I believe he fitted on the medium tyres. So if that's the case, then he will be going to the end of the Grand Prix. Now, Bottas and Grosjean in the pit lane. Unfortunately, at this point, guys, really the differences between the two cars, the quality of the cars, kind of really did sort of express itself almost. Obviously, I mentioned before how Freddie was sort of maintaining, sort of solidifying that gap between himself and Valtteri Bottas. But unfortunately, towards the end of the stint, when the tyre was really beginning to kick in, Bottas and Grosjean just had better cars to deal with that tyre wear, while the Williams generally tends to eat the life out of its tyres, as Freddie is now in the pit for his second and final pit stop of the day. Thankfully, not being held up by any of the emerging cars coming to the pits. The Force India of Sergio Perez, Antonio Giovinazzi, and also Fernando Alonso in the McLaren as well. Valtteri Bottas and Romain Grosjean at this point are very much long gone, and Bottas is on the mediums though, so we do have a slight pace advantage over him at the moment, but I still think it's going to be very tough for Freddie to try and, open up that, try and close that gap almost to Valtteri Bottas. Currently 7.7 seconds. It may be a bit too much here with 9 laps to go in this Grand Prix. Lance Stroll has just rejoined in 7th, but actually gets overtaken by the one-stopper of Esteban Ocon. Now we actually go on board here with Ocon and Lance Stroll, our teammate. Lance Stroll's made some good progress after struggling early on. He's really sort of pulled himself together, showed real composure, and has actually now overtaken Esteban Ocon into turn number 1. Ocon obviously now been on his tyres for quite some time and is really no match or no competition for the guys behind on fresh compounds such as Sergio Perez, Sebastian Vettel, and also Antonio Giovinazzi. But it's good at the moment to see Ocon on his debut for Force India and also Giovinazzi on his debut for Haas, actually in the points right now currently. Hopefully they stay there.
Vandoorne looks as if he's struggling on his one stop. He's currently in P3, but we reckon he'll drop further down and we'll have an opportunity at the end.
So Stoffel Vandoorne is the next driver on Freddie's hit list in his debut race for McLaren. Stoffel Vandoorne on a one-stopper, currently occupying P5. Doesn't seem to have held up Romain Grosjean or Valtteri Bottas too much, but Vandoorne obviously doing an amazing job so far, really conserving his tyres well. Top job so far with the tyre management, but now his ultimate test is approaching. Freddie Gray, the reigning world champion, is launching an attack as they propel themselves down towards turn 3, powering down there with the DRS open. Freddie Gray, but Stoffel Vandoorne is too far in front now, proving very difficult to pass this young Belgian driver. McLaren have picked themselves up an absolute gem in this 2017 season. Freddie Gray so far finding it very difficult indeed, but with 3 laps to go, I'd be very surprised if Freddie Gray didn't make a move anytime soon. But Vandoorne staying mentally strong. He's not mentally weak at all, not mentally fragile. His frailties
aren't really coming out at the moment, but Freddie is now right behind Van Dorn into his favourite overtaking spot into turn number 8, and he has finally made the move stick on Stoffel Van Dorn. It is now Grosjean who is ahead of him in P4, but I think it's too little too late to catch up with the Ferrari debutant here in the Australian Grand Prix, now up into P5 ahead of Stoffel Van Dorn.
Sorry mate, there's an issue with the power unit, output is low. We're going to have to nurse this, Freddie.
So roles have been reversed here. A power unit problem for Freddie Gray sees him now under pressure from Stoffel Van Dorn. We know how handy the young Belgian is, so we're going to have to really watch out for him and just hope that he doesn't launch an attack in this final lap. But we know what he's like. He will do so, and the most threatening point will be out of the exit of turn 11 here, where Freddie actually runs a bit wide himself. Stoffel Van Dorn is lining him up now into turn number 12. This is now an error for Van Dorn, the final overtaking spot of this race. He's going to try and make a move around the outside. Can he pull it off though? And I think Freddie is just about defend the position, hung him out to dry there, Stoffel Van Dorn, and that might just be danger over in a thrilling opening round here at Melbourne. A quiet middle stint admittedly, but a crazy opening and a dramatic ending here. You can kind of see how much Lance Stroll and Sebastian Vettel have also caught up, but Freddie is going to maintain P5 with Max Verstappen winning the Australian Grand Prix.
Well done mate, very composed drive today, top stuff.
Couldn't agree more with the engineer there, especially on that final lap. When you have a talent like Stoffel Van Dorn behind you, you really need to be on your toes. You cannot afford to make any mistakes whatsoever in Formula 1, and Freddie did that very well. Max Verstappen there winning the first race of the season, really putting out there a sign of true intent for the season ahead. Verstappen really showing Freddie that he is one of his main rivals for this World Championship this season. Now going through the race results, Lewis Hamilton only finishing half a second behind Verstappen in the end, so very very close after Lewis did do an extra pit stop, had the fresher tyres towards the end of the Grand Prix. Valtteri Bottas on his debut for Mercedes finishing in third, 6.5 seconds further back, with Grosjean impressing on his debut for Ferrari in 4th position. Freddie obviously coming home in 5th, with Stoffel Van Dorn following him closely to the end of the race. Lance Stroll, after a difficult opening stint, coming home in 7th, with Sebastian Vettel making a good recovery admittedly. Sergio Perez sealing 2 points for Force India, and Fernando Alonso in 10th for McLaren. Unfortunately, Ocon in 11th and Giovinazzi not on the graphic but in 12th place, just missing out on points in their opening race, so unfortunate for them, but a good display from everyone all round, and it really does show that we have one of the most competitive grids in recent times, as mentioned in the trailer. Now looking at the Constructors' Championship, Mercedes lead with 33 points, Red Bull 25, with Ferrari and Williams drawing with 16, McLaren with 9, and Force India with 2 points. So Toro Rosso, Alfa Romeo, who we didn't really see in the race at all, it does seem as if they're going to have some work to do. Obviously they are still learning Formula 1, obviously taking over Sauber F1 team, they're still learning the tricks and the new ways to develop their car, so we hopefully should see them a bit more in future races. Manor in 9th, obviously Renault and Haas rounding out the Constructors' Championship in P11. But guys, if you have enjoyed today's video, be sure to leave a like down below. If we can hit 60 likes on this first episode, that'll be greatly appreciated, and I'll get the second episode out in Bahrain as soon as we possibly can. But yeah guys, that's about it for today. Leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.
Oh yes, one take, get in there. Oh yes, I'm happy with that.